Hello. Let's see. There we go. Hello, Shadow. Hello, Dane. The man of the hour is here, Dane. Hallo, Miskat. Hoe gaan dit met jou? Is jou maag nou beter? Is jy nog siek? Ek hoop nie so nie. Het jy vir ons al daai goed reg wat jy oor wil praat? Dat jy vir ons kan beleer vanaand? Baie dankie. Okay, awesome. Alright. So ek dink kom ons sit vir jou in die boksie. Dan gesels ons twee so lank. Hallo Mish. Dane, is diep woorde wat Kelly Clarkson hier so vir ons sing, né?
Sjoe, dit steek in die hart hoor.
Dit steek baie diep in die hart. Hoeveel mense met wie jy werk, is dit hulle legacy?
Baie. Gevangenis van die trauma en die goed wat deur hulle was.
Exactly. Yeah. I play on the safe side so I don't get hurt. Because of you, I am afraid. Dis rof man. As 'n mens nou, as 'n ouer moet hoor wat jou invloed is of was op 'n kind. Want die mense met wie ek en jy werk is vandag is hulle volwassenes. So vandag is hulle basies die produk van hoe hulle grootgemaak is.
Korrek.
En jy gaan vir ons hierdie ding so bietjie uitmekaar uitruk.
Ja.
Ek sien hierso jou topic vanaand is dealing with irrational beliefs.
Yes.
What, Dane, is an irrational belief?
Okay. So om dit te discuss, wil ek eers discuss hoe beliefs gevorm word. En so deur human development, soos wat ons groot word, tot op die ouderdom waar ons nou is, van kinderjare af, na tienerjare toe, na adolescence toe, na adults toe en na late age toe. Al die goed wat met jou gebeur, veral as jy 'n kind is, dis waar jy meeste van jou beliefs begin vorm. Tot die ouderdom van 7, dan maak jy sekere goed vas. Die enigste manier hoe jy beliefs vorm is deur om te interact en te observe. So jy kyk na die mense om jou, wat jou ma doen, wat jou pa doen, wat boeties en sissies doen, wat hulle by die skool doen. So jy kyk al hierdie goed en wat hulle op die TV doen. En so vorm mens 'n belief system al van 'n vroeë ouderdom af, van hoe goed werk. Jou love map nommer 1 word gevorm, en dis 'n belief. Jy kyk hoe mamma en pappa vir mekaar lief is, hoe hulle liefde toon aan mekaar, en dit is iets wat jy vasmaak as liefde, en jy dra dit oor. En net so is dit waar vir die ander beliefs wat jy vasmaak. Goed wat jy dink is waar, goed wat jy dink jou baat, goed wat jy dink jou beskerm, maar dit doen eintlik nie. It causes more harm. En dis waar ek kom by irrational beliefs. Dis 'n belief of a belief system which doesn't serve us any good. Dis 'n belief wat negative outcomes enable. En dit laat toe dat jy dit herhaal oor en oor. So jy dink dalk dis 'n goeie belief om te hê. Soos sy daar gesing het, I couldn't let anyone else in. Wat Kelly Clarkson gesien het, en in die music video kan jy sien hoe sy groot geword het en wat mamma en pappa gedoen het, en dis weens dit wat sy haar skema gevorm het van die lewe, en dis nou wanneer sy ouer is en sy self 'n kind, waar sy agterkom hoe hierdie goed haar beïnvloed. En dis daai woede van hoe moes ek as 'n kind jou support, daar wees vir jou emosioneel.
Yes.
En nou sukkel ek om daar te wees vir myself emosioneel. Maar dit is 'n tyd toe jy vir my daar moes wees. So ja, dit is irrational beliefs. Dis beliefs wat negative outcomes enable om oor en oor te gebeur. So hoe dieper ons daarin gaan jy partykeer dink jy sien, maar dit is 'n goeie belief hierdie, dis 'n solid belief, maar op die ou einde van die dag is dit nie eintlik nie.
Ja. En dit kom terug op daardie ou counseling fundamental, is find the truth. Staar die ding in die oog, kry die waarheid raak rondom enige iets wat met jou gebeur het. En dan verdwyn daai irrational belief. So, ek weet jy het nou gesê, maar ek vra jou om weer te vra, where do they originate from?
Okay. So soos ek gesê het, gedeelte van hoe ons beliefs vorm, begin op 'n vroeë ouderdom en dit gaan aan tot ons ouer raak en dan begin ons gedrag volgens hierdie beliefs in eenstem met mekaar. Want jou beliefs...
Ek wil net inval daarso. Ek het altyd gehoor die Catholic Church sê, gee jou kind vir ons tot die ouderdom van 7 en hulle sal nooit, ek weet nie wat nie meer, defect, they will stay Catholic for life. So, die ding wat jy, dit wil vir my klink, asof jy nou half daai ding ook sê, dat enige iets wat jy in jou kind imprint, tot op die ouderdom van 7, it's gonna stick for life.
Ja, dit is baie moeilik om van daai denke ontslae te raak. En as jy 'n kind van kleins af leer, swart is wit en wit is swart, tot hy 7 is, hy gaan met jou stry. Want dit is wat dit is.
Dit is wat dit is, want hoekom is dit so? Want my ma sê so, want my pa sê so, want my ma het my so gewys, my pa het my so gewys, hulle het vir my gewys, wit is eintlik swart en swart is eintlik wit.
Ja.
Hoe moeilik is dit dan in die counseling practice om daai irrational beliefs te breek?
Dit vat 'n rukkie. Kyk, as jy met 'n persoon werk, veral as dit kom by irrational beliefs, om die origin van dit te kry, moet jy met hulle praat oor hoekom hulle dalk doen wat hulle doen, wat is hulle triggers. So as jy die triggers al begin, ek begin altyd by die triggers, want die triggers, as ek dit kan identify, vat my na die belief system toe. Want die triggers en die belief system hou handjies vas. Want die belief system influence the thoughts influence the emotion, en die emotion veroorsaak dan die behavioral consequence, hoe die persoon hulle gedra. So om tot die wortel van dit te kom vat tyd, want jy moet met 'n persoon praat, en meeste mense sukkel om hulle emosies korrek te identifiseer. Hulle sal vir jou sê, maar ek voel kwaad. En dan hoe meer jy met hulle praat, en hoe meer jy goed uitwys, dan kom jy op die wortel van, maar jy is nie kwaad nie, jy is hartseer. En dan kyk hulle so vir jou en sê hulle, maar jy praat die waarheid. Ek is nie eintlik kwaad nie, ek is hartseer. En dan, as jy aan daai triggers werk, want daai triggers vat jou na die irrational beliefs toe. Daai triggers vat jou na hulle toe. Want ons irrational beliefs is goed wat ons sê is musts en shoulds. Things must be like this, they should be like that. En as jy aan daai vasklou, en goed gebeur wat nie saamstem met dit nie, dan raak jy triggered.
Kan jy vir my 'n paar examples gee van irrational beliefs? Hallo vroetelvarkie, my skat, hoe gaan dit? Wanneer gaan jy begin leer? Jy het vir my WhatsApp gestuur, nou wag ek net vir jou om te sê jy begin leer. Prys die Here. Okay, so, geef my 'n paar voorbeelde van irrational beliefs.
Okay, so ek gaan voorbeelde gee, dan kan ek en jy daaroor praat. So daar's 3 basiese musts of irrational beliefs wat ons almal internalize, en dit lei altyd tot self-defeat. En so ek gaan die voorbeelde vir jou opnoem, en dan gaan jy vir my sê, maar dit klink reg, of dit klink so, maar ek weet dokter gaan vir my sê, ja nee, ek weet daai ene lei na dit en dat toe.
Nee, ek gaan nie, you teaching today, I'm not teaching anything.
So, die eerste een is een van die musts wat ons vasmaak aan onsself, is I must do well and be loved and approved by others. So ja, een van die basic irrational beliefs, een van die 3, die eerste een is I must do well and be loved and approved by others. So dis waar jy dink, en dit is 'n irrational belief, om te glo dat jy moet goed doen en ander moet jou lief hê en jou aanvaar.
Dis die must ene, sê jy, nee?
Ja.
Kan ons gesels oor what if I fail? What if I don't do well? And what if people don't love me?
Ja, dis waar jy begin werk aan hoekom daai persoon daai irrational belief het. Hoekom glo hulle I must do well and be loved and approved by others? Want omdat hulle dalk in die verlede toe hulle nie goed gedoen het nie, was hulle nie aanvaar deur ander mense nie. En toe hulle begin leer, hulle moet goed doen, en as hulle goed doen, dan gaan almal lief wees vir hulle en hulle aanvaar, toe begin hulle besef, maar dis nie altyd die saak nie. Want my werk is in orde, ek is 'n goeie man, ek is 'n goeie vrou, ek is 'n goeie kind, ek is 'n goeie mens, maar nie almal is lief vir my nie, en nie almal aanvaar my nie.
Jo. Daai is big pressure, nee? Hierdie I must do well. So,
Ja.
As ek nou huis toe kom van die skool af met my rapport en ek het 60% gekry in plaas van 80%, then I don't qualify for love and acceptance.
Veral as die ouer, die achievement wat die kind kry in skool, dis waar ons vroeër gepraat het in een van ons ander video's oor hoe ouers nie hulle kinders moet vergelyk nie, en dis waar dit begin. My kind het 'n A op sy rapport vir alles, of my kind het 60 gekry. So die ouer gebruik dit baie keer as 'n platform om vir ander ouers te wys, of vir mense om hulle, of om met familielede te vergelyk. So as die kind nie daai sekere level of achievement kry nie, dan hanteer hulle die kind nie goed nie. En onmiddellik maak die kind vas, okay, 60 is nie genoeg nie, ek het my bes probeer, dit is nie genoeg nie. En al doen die kind beter en hy kry 70, nee, jy moet 80 kry. En as die kind op die punt kom waar hy net 80s en 90s vir alles kry, die ouers gaan nog steeds ander maniere vind, ander bars vir die kinders stel. Want dit is nie net gewoonlik by achievement nie.
Ja.
Dis by, okay, jy doen nou dit, ek wil hê jy moet nou goed wees in sport ook, ek wil hê jy moet nou dit en dat ook doen. So die kind sien liefde as wat ek vir ander kan doen. En hoe goed ek kan perform.
Yes.
So love is now a bar which is measured. En wat doen daai kind?
Love
And
is
then
not,
they do that. Exactly.
yeah.
Hulle gebruik daai bar om liefde vir ander te toon.
Yes. Hi, Crystal. Love should be free. Love should not be a reward. Love should be love. Love is just love. Die oomblik as ek
Yes.
moet werk vir liefde, die oomblik as love my reward is, dan gaan ek vir ewig en vir altyd werk. Liesel sê, dan word jou sertifikaat oor die muur gegooi. Daai is a loaded statement. Wat sê jy daarvan, Dayne? Liesel sê, dan word jou sertifikate oor die muur gegooi.
Sure, ja, dit is. In die sin van as jy nou dit kry en jy het dit en jy sien dit, en is of nie goed genoeg vir jou ouers nie, so hulle kan dit in die muur gooi, maar wat jy ook kan doen is, naderhand besef jy ek het al hierdie achievements, maar ek is leeg. Dan gooi jy dit self teen die muur. Then you see within yourself, okay, I've accomplished all of this, but I still don't feel good enough. Van daai bar is irrational. It's not
Irrational
unconditional. Ja.
Okay. So dit is awesome. So een van die irrational beliefs is that I believe the irrational bar, that is what I've got to achieve. I will never just be loved because I am. I will only be loved because I can achieve an irrational bar. I can meet an irrational bar expectation. Dis siek, man. Dayne, dit is siek, man. Die hele society is siek. Kan ons nie net can we not be rational? Why should we? Hoekom raak mense so irrational? Hoekom doen jy dit aan jou kind om irrational bars te stel? Why is that happening?
Well, it can be due to a lot of things. It can be to social comparison, where the parents compare their children to other children, and then therefore they set these bars or milestones for their children to achieve. And it can also be partly affected or mainly affected if the parents were through the same, as hulle deur dieselfde ervaring was. As hulle ouers dit vir hulle geleer het en hulle dit vasgemaak het as dis wat liefde is, dan gaan hulle dit nou doen met hulle kinders.
Dayne, so nou, wat ek hier so luister, is eerstens hoor ek jy sê vir my, it's learned behavior. It could be. It could be. Not is, it could be learned behavior. Tweedens wil ek vir jou vra, have a good life. Thank you, girl, the Reiki Raisin. Thank you so much, darling. A big heart right back at you. Thank you. So, the other thing is it possible, Dayne, that I may feel as a parent that I am a failure, and luckily for me, I've managed to bring forth this mini me who is now, it's now the child's responsibility to fix all of what I've broken. Here we go. Okay, so wat sê jy as ek vir jou sê dat my kind, my child must now become the success that I never were. So my child is just a pawn for me because he must do well in order for me to look well. So as soon as I bring forth, as soon as I spawn this person, then it becomes my pawn. My spawn becomes my pawn, who must make me look good. Because 60% does not make me look good, 90% that makes me look good. Or preferably 100%.
Yeah, it can be that the parents think that due to their failures, trying to help the child by carrying those irrational beliefs which they primarily held and carried over to the child would benefit them because they did not maybe do well in school. Yeah. Or they didn't perform well, so they want what's best for their child. So they set these bars in an effort to help them, unknowingly realizing that is actually hampering the child. Because what they're doing is they're acting on that irrational belief of what I must do well and be loved and approved by others. That need was not fulfilled when they were young. So they want that child to have that need fulfilled. But the way they go about it might seem rational to them by setting that bar. But it is irrational.
It is completely irrational and it's unobtainable. I know of a guy who who grew up in a middle class home, not the best of homes, not the calmest of homes, not the cleanest of homes, but this guy is he's extremely highly intelligent. And now in his life, he looks down on everybody who is not of the same social status as what he is.
Sure.
He will say things like, I don't mix with scum. And he will not mix with his family because they are beneath him. And I wonder how much of the upbringing of the parents pushing him, to be this enormous success. How much of that molded him into the workaholic, the achieverholic that he became, and ultimately he ended up despising the hole that he crawled out of, because they taught him, only the best is good enough. You cannot be loved for who you are. You are loved because of your achievements, because your achievements make us look good. And now that both his parents are dead, he's left with the achievements, but there's nobody to say well done anymore. And he just, now he works like a machine. It is irrational. It's irrational that he's not even able to bond with his own family that he made, his wife and his children, because I don't know why. Why? Dayne, tell me why.
Well, I think in this scenario, it could have been pressure from the parents' side. And the more he excelled, maybe, and the more he achieved, the more the parents and his peers and individuals in society, family, friends, the more they gave him praise. So he kind of, in that way, like we've also, when we talked about narcissism, when parents celebrate their child's achievements to an exaggerated extent, they unconsciously are busy creating a narcissist.
Yes, a freaking monster. And then also, okay, so Liesel is saying here, achievement vat die focus weg van ander goed ook. Yes, it does, because there's no space for love. There's no space for unconditional acceptance.
No.
It's just your achievements. And then, in this chap's case, he was compared to other young boys, other young men. He was not. The parents would say to him, "I wish you couldn't you be more like this one and that one and the other one," and this man was already the best, better than all of them, but he just wasn't good enough. And when you speak to this man who is already, I mean, he's nearing pension already, and he's at the top of his freaking game, but he's still not good enough. Just not. That's sad.
Yeah, so the parents taught him to compare himself to other people. And when you compare yourself to other people and you meet the so-called love bar and it's higher than the others, automatically what are you going to do? You're going to look down at the others from that bar.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so
Hello.
you spoke about the must bar. Now, what are the other bars?
Okay. The second one is other people must treat me fairly, kindly, and well. Other people must treat me fairly, kindly, and well.
Please explain, elaborate, teach me.
Okay. So because this is an irrational belief, is due to the fact that it leads to negative emotional consequences. Because if you believe that other people must always treat you fairly, kindly, and well, you're going to be disappointed. Because throughout your life, not everyone, some people might, but on a day-to-day basis, on a yearly basis, You're going to get people who are not going to treat you in a fair manner, or in a kind manner, or in a manner that is well. So jy gaan net nie dit kan kry nie.
Yeah, you just not so what's the remedy? What is the We've got to talk about this one, because this one I don't understand so well. There's a belief that says that people must treat me well. They must treat me fairly. So is that when I am not treated well, when I'm not treated fairly, is that when I rise up in defiance and how do I handle that? What are some of the characteristics of that I must be treated well, I must be treated fairly? What are the actions?
Okay, so when other people, if you sit with this belief, let's say that others must treat you fair, kind, and in a well manner, you're going to go to work. You might not be treated in a fair manner. That, number one, is going to influence how you think and how you feel, so you're not going to act in a healthy manner. Also, the irrational thought that they must treat you kindly and well. If you're not treated in a kind manner or a manner that is well, it's going to lead to a negative emotional state and a negative behavioral outcome. So that's why it's an irrational belief, because it leads to emotional dis-ease, not disease, emotional dis-ease.
Dis-ease, uncomfort, discomfort.
Yes.
Okay, so if I don't have this irrational belief that people must treat me well, and that they must love me, accept me, what is the healthy response? So I get to work and I'm not treated well, I'm not treated with respect. That's the reality of it. What is the healthy response compared to the unhealthy response?
You'll get people who are so upset that they'll quit, no matter if it means giving up their financial security. You will get people who will go home and then lash out to their family. With all these irrational beliefs that we mention, it's only when the person believes it in an exaggerated manner that other people must always treat me fairly, kind, and well. Where you and me, we understand that not always are we going to be treated that way. So, in order to avoid getting that disappointment, we're not going to attach that expectation to that outcome. Whereas other people usually exhibit this because it's who they are. Just like the number one I must do well and be loved and approved by others, it could be because the person loves and approves everyone and expects the same in return. That's where it becomes an irrational belief, because not everyone is like you. The same with other.
Yeah. Okay, now the penny drops, because for a long time I had pardon me, I had this irrational belief that people all think like I do, or people all feel like I do, and all people hate lies like I do, all people are honest like I am, all people will treat others well like I do. And then that is a super irrational belief, because people do lie, and so do I, but I choose not to lie, and I don't lie often. So I fell rather flat on my face with that belief that I can trust anything that anybody says, because nobody lies. I don't lie, so nobody else lies. I accept you. I don't care if you're pink, purple, homosexual, bisexual, whatever your belief system is, I accept everyone, so therefore I should be accepted. But I'm not. I'm not.
Mm.
I'm judged. I'm ridiculed. The bar is so high for me to achieve, and again,
Mhm.
I fall flat on my face every time I'm not accepted, or lied to, or that kind of thing. So Dane, if I have that false belief system, and you like to refer to the love map,
Yeah.
okay, so if my love map is mapped incorrectly, how the heck do you actually change that love map into a healthier love map?
The way you do that is that you basically start realizing that, okay, that how the people in my relationships, how they're acting towards me and how I'm acting towards them, it's like they start noticing a cycle, and it's not a good cycle. It is a bad cycle. So if someone wants to fix their love map, they'll often come to me, or they'll come to someone and say, my partner doesn't treat me with unconditional love or approves of the things I do, and he doesn't treat me in a fair manner, or he doesn't treat me kindly. That is because they initially see that as being love, because they formed it. So getting them to say things and taking them to that belief. So I'd say in a session, so do you perhaps maybe believe that everyone must treat you fairly and in a kind way, in a well way? And they say yes, because that's who I am. That's what I do. And then you delve deeper into why, where that irrational belief took place. Was it in early childhood? Was it maybe later on? But you usually find that the wound occurred in the childhood phase.
And
So
tell me, because we're talking a lot about the irrational beliefs that originate in childhood, and I can see that most of them originate in childhood. Can a false belief system be rooted in the adolescent years and also in adult years?
yes, look, because things can happen in childhood that you observe, that you take in, and then you start believing in that. Then further on in adolescent years or teenage years, things happen in your life that confirm that belief, and then it can take root at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it usually takes root in that moment. That's why if you work with individuals and they mention a lot of issues that occurred during adolescence, the feelings that were rooted then might have been from earlier origin, and it was reinforced, and it only manifested when they were teenagers, or it only manifested when they were adults.
Okay, so we've spoken about the must do well, the I must be treated fairly, and then you said there's a third irrational belief as well system. What is that?
Yes. The third one is the world and my living conditions must be comfortable, satisfying, and just, providing me with all that I want in life. So there you can see how it can lead to negative outcomes. It's the white picket fence fantasy or the ideal life, but there's no such thing. We are faced with challenges on a daily basis.
Yeah, so even if I do have a white picket fence, I may not be as happy at home or at work. I may have a white picket fence around my house, but my home may be in chaos. Liesel, jy's so oulik, my skattebol. Weet jy, jy's soos like jy's die sniper of all snipers, sniper deluxe. Okay, so okay, praat met ons. I'm sorry, Dane. You know, I just have to say thank you and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so the belief that your conditions must always be comfortable, satisfying, and just, that is an irrational belief, because irrational beliefs are musts, like I stated. So
Yes.
by
Or,
saying it
or,
must be
or,
this way, mm-hmm,
so is it right if I say that all beliefs that has a must in it is irrational? It cannot be achieved.
uh, some of them. But these are the three main ones which lead to self-defeat. They lead to self-defeat in the sense that when you don't do well and others don't approve you, you feel bad and you judge yourself and you ridicule yourself and you cope with it in an unhealthy manner. If other people don't treat you fair or kind, you resort to negative coping mechanisms. So anything that is a must, I will say you'll have to analyze that, but there are three prime ones. But I would focus if someone tells me I must do this or I must do that, that belief is rooted in something. So that is where we identify if it is a rational or irrational belief. So if someone says, I must work 12 hours a day, then you ask them, why must you work 12 hours a day? Or I must drive this car or that car. Why must you? Because that relates to the third one, where the world and my living conditions must be comfortable, satisfying, and just. So it overlaps into many musts. But these are the three ones that it will always kind of, in a way, come back to.
How effectively does our irrational belief system remove us or make it impossible for us to achieve clean, pure, unconditional love? If I have all of these irrational must believe or irrational love maps, how hard is it for us to get to a clean place where I realize, you know what, even I don't have a comfortable lifestyle. I go, let's see what Rudy says. Social engineering, referring to the social norm and what is acceptable by others. Yes, yes. So that's what I wanted to say now, is that when I fail to drive the fancy vehicle, my lifestyle is not comfortable. When I am not treated fairly at all, and when I don't do well, where in the world will I find love if I don't fulfill all of these musts?
That is where, when you talk to the individual and these beliefs, which are irrational, which are destroying them, which are leading to self-defeat and emotional dis-ease, they will make themselves manifest. So in that process where you identify their irrational beliefs, it's going to inevitably lead you to where those beliefs took root. And it's going to cause problems in relationships. It's going to cause problems in various areas. So if you can find the root of it after it's been manifested, and you can make the person understand by, okay, do you see how believing A, B, C, D, E causes you discomfort? And then they say, okay, yes or no, or maybe they'll even want to have a debate with you. So then you discuss it to the point where they realize that it is an unhealthy cognitive pattern to have. It's an unhealthy way of thinking because it doesn't bring them love. And yes, self-love is also very important. It's a major contributor to this whole thing, because if you're victim to comparing yourself to other people or having these expectations of how the world must treat you, you're in that mindset of comparison.
Yes.
You're comparing yourself constantly. And that is where you must find the love within yourself. and accept yourself. Because if it originated in childhood, you sought love by externalizing your behavior, by achieving, by treating others kindly, by doing this and that. So then that is where you found love, and not within.
But that's a hard road. Eh? It's a hard and it's a long road to get to the point where you can say, okay, you know what? I realized that I was not loved unconditionally. I had to work for the love, but now I'm turning my back on that irrational expectation, and I'm going to be okay with not living that comfortable. I'm okay with, so if you treat me harshly or unfairly, I'm going to be okay with that, and I'm going to say, you know what, daai is jou moeilikheid nie myne nie. Even though being on the receiving end of the bad treatment is never nice, that is not a reflection on me. You treating me badly, because I think that is also a big thing. If you don't treat me well, then I say, it's me. There's something wrong with me. I fail to grasp that, no, you're actually a rotten person. That's why you treat me badly.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
It does make sense, because as children, when we grow up, and this might sound wrong, but hear me out. When we grow up, we're narcissistic, in a sense that we blame ourselves for everything that is happening around us and to us. If mommy and daddy are fighting, it's me. If they're having a divorce, it's me.
Yeah.
Children feel the stress and the frustration of their parents, and they must think it's me. They immediately blame themselves. Especially when things are going wrong, children have an innate habit of blaming themselves. So that is where it starts. And later on in life, if they don't realize that this person is treating me poorly, not because of who I am or what I am, but because they're just a nasty person. If they don't have that realization, they'll go to the fact that they're treating me nasty and ugly, and that must mean I'm not worthy of it.
Yes.
Because they started blaming themselves in childhood.
Yeah. Okay, you've put down, how do we deal with these beliefs?
Yes. Okay. So, to deal with these beliefs, number one, we have to start recognizing that it's not the event or situations which we encounter in life which disturb us, but it's rather our beliefs which we have regarding the event that causes disturbance. In other words, our perception of the event.
Yeah.
And to deal with this, we implement what is known as the ABC framework.
Are you going to tell us what the ABC framework is?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we all just have to remember that this is a model. So it's used as a frame of reference. It might work with some people, it might not work with other people. Because it's a model and a framework, it can be used. But that's not necessarily that does not necessarily mean it will work with everyone. But the A in the ABC framework, the A stands for the existence of an activating event. So A is the activating event, or adversity, or an inference, or a conclusion reached about the event by an individual. So that's the A.
Okay.
So for short, it is the activating event. Okay. Whatever happened that is bad, or the conclusion that they reached, that is the A about the activating event. So A is the activating event or adversity. Whatever is negative that happens, that is what the A
Can you
stands
can
for.
you can you give us an example or a couple of examples about an activating event?
Okay, so it's activating events are also known as triggers. So what triggers me doesn't necessarily trigger you. So if you discover what triggers individuals, it might be people who've been through trauma and abuse, even someone just raising their voice, a door slamming closed can be an activating event. That can be a trigger. That's the A. Because immediately they go back to the traumatic situation.
So in other words, the wind comes up and the door slams shut and I'm triggered. That's an activating event because I remember the last time a door was shut in my face, maybe. It hit me smack bang in my face. Is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yes, or someone says something that you take offense to, and it might be something you were bullied for when you were very young. It might be your ears, your eyes, your nose, or your mouth, whatever you're sensitive about. That's the A, the triggering event.
Height,
The
weight,
activating. Yeah.
belief system, choice of clothing.
Social status.
And then it comes back to I must do well. I must achieve or reach or conform to an expectation, an external expectation. So as a child,
Exactly.
I had to conform to the irrational high bar that my parents expected of me to achieve. And now, as an adult, I must conform to my neighbors, my boss, my wife, my husband's irrational expectations.
Yep.
And if
So
I
that's how you
don't,
can see. Mm-hmm.
then I'm in trouble. Then I can't be loved. So
Yep.
the activating triggers, right? What is B?
B is the belief about the event. So
Okay.
that's straightforward. A is the triggering event, and B is the belief about the event. And you'll see how all of this links in with the three basic musts.
I
So
can
B
see that
already, that's good.
because I'm clever like that, man. I'm joking.
Yes, doctor.
It's Dane. So the B is the belief about the event. A is the activation of. Laat ons nou luister hierso vir Dane. Wat sê Dane alles? Hy gaan jy nog praat oor B, Dane?
Nee, B is simply net die belief about the event.
Okay.
En dan is C is die emotional and behavioral consequence of the reaction of the individual. And the reaction can either be healthy or unhealthy. So C is the emotional and behavioral consequence and reaction by the individual head. And it can either be healthy or unhealthy.
Okay, so ons moet hierdie ding nou bietjie mooi deurpraat. Want nou sê jy vir my daar is 'n catalyst, an activating event, a trigger. Dan sê jy vir my, okay, die deur wat slaan is die activating event. Die belief, my belief van HKGK, want die deur het geslaan, né? The belief. Ja, okay, so I believe die deur slaan, dis die activating event. My belief is omdat die deur geslaan het HKGK en dan die consequence van die belief is nou sit ek in die fetal position in 'n hoekie van my kamer, want GK, of nou spring ek by die venster uit, want ek glo, hier kom moeilikheid. Die wind het die deur toegeslaan, maar hier kom moeilikheid. Die laaste keer toe die deur toegeslaan het, toe was daar groot moeilikheid.
Ja.
Het ek 'n handle op die ding?
Ja, so basies. Dis waar dit nou interessant raak. In die ABC model, A, which is the activating event, does not cause C. C is the emotional consequence. Rather, B, which is a person's belief regarding the activating event, mainly creates C, which is the emotional reaction. Dis hoekom dit die A, B, C is, soos dokter gesê het. Die activating event gebeur, maar dit veroorsaak nie die emotional consequence nie. Dit is die belief oor die activating event. The belief, the perception which you've attached to that event, the belief or belief systems, which causes the emotional reactions.
Dayne, how hard is it to change that belief? Because these beliefs are deeply ingrained.
It is, with some people, it's hard, but when someone comes to you and they're really committed and open and willing to heal, it's easy for them to recognize that because you're helping them by telling them, do you think this belief serves you or harms you? And then if they say, it serves me, then you discuss it until the point where the person realizes, okay, I walked with this for so long and thought things must be like this, but it's harmed me every single time. That's where you tell them that belief is irrational. So with some people, it's quite difficult want hulle skop teen dit. Hulle sê nee, maar dit is nie so nie. Until you get them to the point where you can guide them to understand that this belief system has been repeating and it's not been making the roses grow in the garden.
No, and that's hard, eh? But even though you're sitting with a person who is fundamentally convinced that their irrational belief is the way to go, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, yet expecting different results. So how many times then have you sat opposite a person who is clinging to a conviction or a belief, who has not served them well at all? Daai was net die moeilikheid. And yet, they're trying to convince you, but that false belief system must stay in place because that's what I've always believed. And you're trying to tell them that daai is die moeilikheid. That's why things are the way they are, because you continue to believe the lie. Your belief around this event is not accurate. In fact, it is completely wrong. Now you want to convince me we must do this because that's the way I've done it.
And
so
then I'll say,
yeah.
If the person's sitting in front of me, I'll ask, why did you seek help then? If everything is okay and everything's been working, you can't fix today's problems with yesterday's tools. Just like you said about insanity.
I love that.
Yeah. You simply can't.
Fix today's problems with yesterday's tools.
You can't.
You must patent it. You must now coin the phrase.
I will TM trademark. I'll contact Mustard C3 lawyers.
That's a trademark, absolutely. Oh, Dayne, you're so slim. Liesel is saying you need something to replace the lie.
Yeah. So sometimes someone can get so fixated in a belief system and they can pathologically believe that it's serving them. but it can be based off of a lie, which is an irrational belief. So what you do is you make them aware of the lie. And it doesn't mean necessarily you just bomb them with a lot of information in the first session. You must listen very carefully to what they say, the problems that keep reoccurring in their life, the pattern that you start noticing.
Yes.
And then at a certain stage in counseling, that's why you don't just do it in the second session. You tell someone, okay, now we're going to face your irrational beliefs, because you don't have any background on that person yet. You don't have a history or a pattern that you could identify in either their relationships or in society or even their relationship with themselves. So later on, you start confronting them about the irrational beliefs and you start pointing out to them. And when they argue, you point out the sequences of events that have led to them being disappointed, and you show them that this is the belief that you had attached to it the whole time. The more they start noticing that something that happened once, twice, 400 times has been linked to a certain way of thinking, a certain way of feeling and believing has caused me this, that's when they realize, okay, it's a lie.
Yeah. Dayne, can we talk a little bit about the toxic relationship that one can have with yourself? Well, because I know that, and I think that that dog has been beaten dead already. Toxic relationships with others, like with a narcissist, like with an abuser. Hierdie Liesel, sy gaan alweer. Oh my goodness, kyk daar Liesel. Daai ene, solid girl. So we speak a lot and we hear a lot about toxic relationships with parents, with spouses, with in the romantic setting, in the office, at your workplace, with children. But can we talk about the toxic relationship with yourself? Because I mean, that is the relationship you have with yourself that's the only relationship that you will have for your entire life. You grow up and eventually you don't stay friends with your primary school friends. You make new friends in high school. They don't necessarily stay friends with you for life. Then you go to varsity, you make new friends, you go to a marriage, you divorce. So almost all relationships are seasonal, but you're stuck with yourself. That's the one relationship that you cannot divorce from, you cannot leave from, you cannot discard. Can we talk a bit about how toxic the relationship with yourself could be?
Yes, we can definitely, and it can be very, very toxic. And the way you start noticing if your relationship with yourself is either healthy or toxic is you start listening how you talk to yourself throughout the day. If you're struggling with something and you say, oh, you always forget everything. Can't you remember things? Why did you have to leave the key there? So if you start listening to the way you talk to yourself, you're going to start noticing that those voices, that toxicity, they're not your own. They were voices which were projected onto you, which you've made true. Your parents might have not always seen you doing something right, like the achievement bar. So now, their behavior, you take as self-love as the love map and you internalize it. And you start behaving that way towards yourself. And that's where it becomes toxic. So you start comparing yourself, you start blaming yourself. Their voices, even if it is a partner you were with, or even something silly, if someone says you're just like your mother or you're just like your father, that can people get so upset with that statement.
Yeah. Ook ek het
because
dit.
it's yeah, so they get upset with it, and I also used to get upset with it, but as I got older I started realizing, but I do things that my mom does. I
Yes.
do things that my dad does. So by by noticing how you talk to yourself and accepting yourself is how you realize if you're having a toxic relationship with yourself. Self-talk is number one. If you're just mindful one day of the way that you communicate with yourself, you'll notice if you're either giving yourself a rose or stabbing yourself with a knife. Because it's easy to say, no, I love myself, I accept myself. If you love yourself and accept yourself, would you cling to negative emotions, feelings, and thoughts which break down your self esteem, which cut at your heart? Because if you love yourself, you would turn that knife away. And you only notice that toxicity when you listen to how you talk to yourself. Because that's where you often discover the voices of trauma, which
Yes.
you have made reality.
Yes, yeah. That you are actually completely, or you can be in control of if you choose to.
Mm, exactly. You can.
So how do I change the voices in my head?
It's gonna sound crazy, but you talk back to them.
But Dave, you and I talk to voices all freaking day long, hey? Sometimes many voices in one person, you get so confused. You say, ah! So now you're telling me, okay, I must turn the conversation inward
Yes. So
and
if you okay, so if you listen to the way you're talking to yourself and you say, "Hey, hold on a second. Why did I just say this to myself? Why did I say you can never do anything wrong? Why?" Question that thought and say, where does it come from? Because if you think in that moment, sometimes you don't have time to do that. So it's easy in the beginning just to say, counter it with something positive. I am always remembering things. I do stuff correctly and properly. I'm not a forgetful person. I'm not someone who breaks everything. But later on, when you
what
sit,
then if I sit at work and I make I'm a bookkeeper, so I don't balance. The fact is, I don't balance. And you know what? Yesterday I also didn't balance. And now today I say to myself, damn it, you never balance.
hmm,
What, can we talk about that?
well, that is also where the toxic behavior with yourself, the way you talk to yourself, becomes what we call a self fulfilling prophecy. It becomes something that is gonna happen. Because remember, your thoughts and your feelings and your perception about stuff influences your behavior. So now you're being negative towards yourself, telling yourself, you're not balancing, you can't do this. Why do you never seem to get it? You tried now already 3, 4 days, you're just not getting to it. You never seem to balance. If you start reinforcing that, what does the body do when you think of certain stuff? You get
It,
stressed out.
yes, it reacts. I get
And
heart palpitations and my palms go sweaty and I hyperventilate.
and that causes you to release stress hormones. You're in fight or flight mode. You get all worked up. You go into maybe a panic mode or an anxious mode. And that interrupts your way of thinking clearly. So then inevitably it's gonna keep on reoccurring because you keep saying this to yourself. You never can do this or you can never do that, and you get stressed out. So by saying it to yourself, you get stressed out and it incapacitates you in that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
So the
And
way
I,
you talk to yourself defeated yourself.
so what should I say? Okay, so I've now noticed 3, 4 days in a row, no balancing. It is the whole thing's going south for a ball of whatever, here I sit, I'm faced with the facts. So now I must tell myself what?
Okay. Firstly, you must tell yourself, I will balance. I will get to the root of this because I'm able to overcome things, to find solutions, and to survive and to thrive. So this is just this is another obstacle I have to face, although it might be mental, but I can overcome it. So reinforce it with I can and I will, but then get to the root of it. Why does it put you in a state of panic? Why does it put you in a state of anxiety when you do not balance?
Yes.
Might it be due to the fact that you're perfectionistic and you want everything to be perfect and that is how you like things because maybe that was what was expected of you, or you decided to change your life so now everything must be perfect in order for me to be okay. So that's where you delve deeper into the whole way of thinking. Realize it, speak positively, and then find out why it is a trigger, why it is a wound, what is the origin.
Because often, Dane, when you get, we're just sticking to the not balancing story now for the sake of, okay, so if I'm not balancing, I made a mistake somewhere. That 10 cents that I'm looking for, instead of 96 Rand 10, I typed in, that 9 cents that I'm looking for, instead of typing in 96 Rand 10 cent, I typed in 96.01. It was just a little finger trouble that I did there, but I'm not finding it because there's so much pressure on me. I put so much pressure on myself and I keep on overlooking the zero, the 2 digits that I changed around. Where I should have typed in 10, I typed 01. And so for 4 days in a row, I'm looking for freaking 9 cents, and I can't find 9 cents because I'm being so harsh on myself because I am a perfectionist, for instance, could be. So how do I declutter this nonsense to calm down? Because if I was able to just on day one of the not balancing, if I was able to say, "Husa," maybe maybe I could go slowly, systematically through every transaction and find the freaking 9 cents in that switch digit. But I can't because I'm chased. I must balance. I'm not freaking balancing, but I'm chasing it. How do you have practical suggestions on when something like this happens, how to deal with it, how to cope, how to calm yourself down, basically? Because that's the problem. You're not calm, so that's why you don't find the problem.
Okay. So what I'll do is immediately, if you feel that unease, that feeling, whatever you might be experiencing, if it's anxiety, if it's panic, if it's fear, if it's stress, if it's worry, start noticing that living according to those emotions in the moment is only going to deter you from achieving what you want to achieve. So by realizing that they are self-defeating, number one, is a big step. So you tell yourself, okay, I will get to the bottom of this. I will find that 10 cents. It is somewhere. It could not have disappeared. So I'm going to find it because I am capable of it. So you calm yourself down mentally by saying the opposite of what your mind is saying, because that's the only way you're going to defeat the current state you're in.
Yeah.
If your mind is like, the only way to calm it down is by saying, calm down now. We're going to get this. I'm going to find that 10 cents. Because then your body will go where your mind goes. where your mind goes, your body will follow. So when you're worked up and you're releasing all of these stress chemicals into your brain and everything starts chasing you, you start feeling unwell, you can't focus. Instead of falling into that rut, in the moment notice, okay, that's usually how it goes, but today I'm choosing a different way. So practical advice is to confront that feeling or emotion and say, whatever I'm worried about, whatever I'm stressed about, face it with the complete opposite. Whether it's financial worry, you'll say there will be provision. Whether it's finishing a task and you're struggling with it, comfort yourself and say, I will finish in time. I will find a solution. So confront the bad with the good because you need to reprogram your way of thinking. Lisa.
Did you read Liesel? Opset 10 cents en boer ek sal dit inbetaal. At least breek dit die thoughts.
Ai, is dit toch?
Ag my skat, jy is classical. It's so sweet.
Ja.
Oh, ek loved it. Oh my goodness.
That's a very practical solution there, Lisa.
Ek kan sien hierdie girl het 'n handle op baie dinge hoor. 10 cents en boer. Okay. Oh, okay, nee, that's good. Alright, sy het nou vir my gegooi, 10 cents a moer. Okay, ek like dit, ek love dit.
Yeah, so tell yourself the exact opposite. Comfort yourself. Speak to yourself with love. Because then immediately you're going to calm down. And then you'll often see, it's just here. Because sometimes when you're in a rut, even if you misplace something, and you say, where's my phone? Where's my purse? Where's my glasses? You won't find it in that moment. Sometimes you have to go call someone to say, help me find my glasses. By calling them.
Take it off your head.
Yes. Or you call someone and say, help me find my glasses. By asking them to help you find your glasses, you feel already a bit more at ease, a bit more relaxed, and then you find them yourself.
Yeah. I have so many times because I've got this habit. I put my glasses on my head and then I start looking for it everywhere. And then and I look in the mirror, I say, no, I have vivid memories of Benny Bookworm. Do you remember Benny Bookworm? No, you're too young.
I saw, as someone showed me, a little wormy, it's like a puppet.
That's the thing, Dane. Also now I want to speak to you about... because thoughts are in essence habitual. They are habits, bad and good habits. How important is it to start your day off with good habits, good thoughts? I'm thinking, I just take myself. I haven't been walking probably for 2 weeks because the truth is I'm too lazy, A. B, when I wake up, I start working immediately. Sometimes I go brush my teeth at 11 o'clock because, but those are bad habits. And I'm stuck in a belief system of I can't disappoint anyone. So what advice do you have? Like the reason I'm saying I'm not walking anymore, the exercise is good for you because it's that 30 minutes or whatever, however long you gym or walk or swim, that you're with yourself, not focusing on outside influences. So how important are good habits for yourself to practice and do you die vraagie wat ek wil vra is please help me to want to walk in the morning because I don't, I'm too lazy.
Okay, so the thing is you have to think of how did it benefit you when you were walking? How did you feel?
Much better.
Did you have more energy? Could you think clearly after going out in nature and coming back?
Yes.
Did you sleep better?
Yes.
So you look at all the benefits, especially if you want to motivate yourself towards doing something, you weigh the pros and the cons. Because we know walking, getting exercise, going out into nature, it's a very, very good thing because your body starts releasing good stuff. Things which are beneficial to it, happy hormones. It starts getting rid of toxins. It increases oxygen, blood flow to the brain and to the various parts of the body. So in that instance, you remind yourself of the benefits and you're saying, okay, I do have a lot of work, but it seems like I'm not completing. It seems like I don't have enough energy. I'm not sleeping well. So by walking rather, I'm going to have more energy when I come back home after a walk, even though I do it when I'm tired. And I'm going to be able to think more clearly. And I'm going to be able to finish my work. So it's very good to have healthy habits when it comes to thinking. So usually when I used to wake up, the first thing I did was grab my phone and I went through my messages. And I looked at what is my schedule like? What am I doing today? What do I have to complete? And immediately when I did that, I went into a stress mode.
Yes. Because you're so right. You're so right because instead of just feeding yourself with the energy, the good stuff, you immediately start giving out, and eventually you got nothing more to give because your tank is empty. I like what Smoke and Fire is saying here. To get a meaning for why you need to do something purposeful if you feel unmotivated. Yes. Must I read again? To get a meaning for why you need to do something purposeful if you feel unmotivated.
Okay.
So I'm not motivated to walk in the morning.
Yes.
Because I'm lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Help.
Yeah, and that's where if you feel unmotivated to do it, number one, you're feeling a sense of unmotivation. So you can as easily, it seems difficult, but you can easily get motivation by saying, okay, if I continue, it depends on what it is, but the example we're using now is going for a walk. So if it's going for a walk, you remind yourself, okay, I'm not motivated to do it, but if I go do it, I'm going to feel a lot better. I'm going to think more clearly. I'm going to get through my work. I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to function better. But in order to find meaning in something or where you feel unmotivated, it depends on what that specific thing is. Because various examples have different explanations. You might not feel motivated to, let's say, get out of bed because you're depressed or you're not feeling well.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, then I would suggest, obviously, talking to someone and asking for help and guidance through that. Because what depression does, it incapacitates you, basically. So that motivation, even the smallest thing to get up can be a mission or feel like a mission. And that's where you have to remind yourself, if I keep on lying down, I'm going to feel worse. Yes. Because I might have done it yesterday or the day before, and I ended up feeling worse. So yes,
Okay, Smoke and Fire here is saying, or I'm lazy because I feel useless from being tired, physically, mentally, emotionally, not lazy. I like that because when we, she's basically reiterating what you've just said. When you are tired, when you've been working so hard, eventually it's not that you're lazy, it's just that you freaking, you know what I think, Dane? Tell me if I'm right or wrong here. I think that when you prioritize the world around you, all the people around you, you give them higher priority than you give yourself, then you are not worthy of the walk.
Yes.
Even though it's the only thing you do for yourself throughout the entire day, you're not worthy of this, so you must know, you must jump into work immediately. The other thing that I want to talk to you about, Dan, because you brought it up, functioning depressive. Tell us, what is a functioning depressive?
A functioning depressive.
Yes.
Is it someone, let me just get this correctly, someone who still functions, but it's called like you get high stress functioning and high depression functioning, but they're still functioning, but they're depressed.
They're completely depressed, but they work like machines. That you call that a functioning depressive. So they have the work doesn't bring them joy. They work because they must work, not because they want to work. They are basically in
Robot.
Yes. So they are functioning depressives. There are so many functioning depressives out there. They don't smile. They're not happy. But they work like machines.
They do it because they have to.
Again, in the irrational belief system.
That's all rooted in that, because they keep doing something that, although it might seem that they're functioning, they're actually not. They're hollow.
They're hollow. Yes, absolutely hollow. There's no joy. Liesel is saying, yep, get it done and do it good. Smoke and Fire says robot mode. Yes, there's no joy. Absolutely no joy. And these people will also not afford themselves. Shadow Dragon is saying numb. Yes. So you are a functioning depressive. You're an unhappy person who you are because you must be here. You're not doing life. You're doing coping. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that has to do with a deep sense or lack of purpose. Because if a person is functioning and they keep on going and they're doing something, but there's no fulfillment, there's no purpose anymore, they have lost that. So they're still functioning in that sense by doing what they should be doing, but the purpose and the meaning and the fulfillment isn't there anymore.
Isn't there?
And that's where you have to kind of work with the person to discover what do they find meaningful, because they might neglect whatever they're doing in their daily life, even if it is going to work. They might have lost their meaning or their fulfillment in it or their purpose in it. And sometimes you need to just realign it with them. Find that common ground. Why did you do this? Why are you doing this? So is there no meaning anymore? And you listen to what the individual is telling you. So if they've lost all meaning, purpose, and fulfillment, it might be because mentally things are happening or have happened which caused them to move away from finding purpose and meaning and fulfillment in what they're doing.
Yes.
So then you have to realign that sense.
Yeah, you have to realign it. Smoke and Fire is saying it's an expectancy, either external or internal expectancy. I like that. Shadow is saying true. We need purpose. And then Smoke and Fire said again, who am I truly? Why am I here? Thoughts. Yeah, that's why I wanted those three statements there. Liesel is saying survival mode. That's exactly why I wanted to talk about the toxicity of the irrational expectancy of self. And I think that is also, Dane, maybe rooted in childhood, where I was never valued as just a person for myself. My value would always attached at what I can do. You understand? So for me, in my personal capacity, because I come from a musical family and I'm the least musical of them all, but I tried very hard until I said, screw this. I mean, I can what I can and I can't what I can't, and that's just me, take it or leave it. But for a very long time, I compared myself to them, forgetting that I've only been alive for 15, 16 years. They're 50 and 30 and they're old people. They've been playing musical instruments for a long time. And I want to compare myself at 16 with them, which is not a fair comparison. But in my mind, I just thought, I'm not good enough, not good enough. You understand what I'm saying? Is that when we are being extremely unkind to ourselves, extremely toxic to ourselves because of our belief system with regards to another person or an outside person. Maybe you come into an office today and, oh, God forbid, please don't ever let me type, Lord. I suck at typing, but okay. So I got this job as a typist and I'm typing and I look at the lady next to me and she's going, those little fingers are just, and I get dizzy from that. So I'm not good enough. But she's been working at the company for 10 years. And halfway through the day, I'm realizing I'm never going to make it. Look at her. She just knows where everything is. She types quick. I'm like a zombie person here. And I'm devaluing myself.
Yeah. Which actually started out as someone else projecting something they wanted from you which you couldn't offer.
Yes.
It started as a projection, what other people projected on you, their expectancies of you. And in a way, what does that do? It denies you of your own uniqueness, your own individuality. It doesn't give you the space to excel at what you want to do, what you are really good at. So in a sense, it's already implanting social comparison, which leads to the fact where you do not find fulfillment or meaning in other activities anymore.
Yes.
Because you are doing not what you wanted to do, what your passion was, because you're doing what was projected onto you, what was expected of you. You're doing what was expected of you or from you, not what you wanted to do, not what you enjoyed, not what you loved, not what you found meaning and fulfillment in. Because even if you were to play a musical instrument, you would never feel good enough.
Yes.
Because that is not your passion. Whenever you do something that you enjoy, you excel at it. When something becomes your passion, you excel in it. And that's where the negative, where you have to realize, okay, why am I thinking the way I'm thinking? It won't happen overnight. Talk against the negative voice with something good. Realize it is being toxic. And then that in itself, on a route of introspection, would lead you to notice, okay, this is where it's coming from. This is the root of it. And eventually you'll get to the root of that.
Yeah, it is so important to get to the root. That is why I am not fond of medicating for emotional healing. I'm not. I understand that sometimes for a season it may be necessary. Oh! By the way, Dane, I got got into a conversation with a mother of one of your counselees. And this woman is just, you are now just below Jesus. You are that good. So I just want to give you that compliment, that she's absolutely thrilled at what you're doing with her son. So much faith in you. And she asked me to convey her thankfulness and gratefulness for the awesome job that you did. Dan, het jy nog ietsie wat jy met ons oor wil gesels?
Ja, ek het een praktiese example van die
Asseblief.
ABC model.
Mm.
So, the example that I have is a person experiencing depression after a divorce. For example, it might not be the divorce itself that causes the depressive reaction, nor the inference that they have failed, but it's the person's beliefs about their divorce or about their failure. In other words, a person's beliefs regarding rejection and failure, which would be at point B, are what mainly causes the depression at point C, and not the actual event of divorce or a person's inference of failure at point A. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely, because we speak with so many people after divorce, during divorce, and there's always a sense of, it's my fault, I failed, I wasn't good enough, I didn't try hard enough, and instead of realizing, but I chose to do the divorce because in essence, I was not met. My heart was not met. Whatever the side things, the mother-in-law that interfered or whatever, when I am not met, then, or maybe there was an external, what do you call that, an affair or something. But if I am not met, then I won't stay in the marriage. And I would blame every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yeah. And that is sometimes what we have to deal with on a daily basis. You get people who present certain feelings or are going through certain hardships or emotions and suffering, and then you have to carefully work to get to the root of it. Otherwise, the problem will not be fixed. So it's something that it needs careful work. Because if you're just going to work on making them not feel depressed, instead of going to the root of that, their beliefs regarding failure or rejection, their depression will not go away.
Yeah.
Because we all know depression is rooted in suffering, in rejection, and abandonment. In all of these bad things, depression has its roots.
Yeah. And it's tough to go back and say, okay, you know what? I was abandoned by my parents or my mother or my father, one of the parents. They may not have put you out on the street, but if they abandon you emotionally, anyone who abandons you emotionally could have an effect and lead you to become depressive. However, it is probably the abandonment of self that leads to depression quicker than the outside abandonment, because the outside message is first, I'm not worth it, and then the inside message is, I cannot stand up for myself because I'm not worth it.
And it's often the outside messages that we internalize and then we accept it as being true.
Yes, absolutely.
And that then causes everything to spiral,
yeah,
to get worse.
Yeah, and it's just like a spiral down the drain. It's going one way. Your outcome will just be very dark. Does anybody want to ask Dayne a question? Do you want to climb in the box? You're welcome. You can type out your questions if you like. Smoke and Fire is saying, stuck in a loop if you stay there too long. Absolutely. Lisa says, ja, want as iemand dit aan jou doen, hoe glo jy die teenoorgestelde? Yes.
True, yeah, that's very true.
Very,
because
very
we don't have any example of anything different.
different. Now that's
And that,
it's the Tarzan story, the boy who grew up amongst apes, and when the humans found him, he could just because, and he was a good ape because he didn't know how to be human, so he became an ape. So if you are bombarded all of your life, when you are blamed all of your life, and you don't know that that's not healthy, how can you measure you, when you've got nothing better to measure it by? You will always measure yourself by that which is comfortable. You will be Tarzan. You will go woo, 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 ha, 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 because even though you're a person, you're human. You don't believe you're human. You look in the mirror, you see I don't look like a monkey, and yet I behave like a monkey when I shouldn't. I should behave like a human. And it's that thing that Lisa is saying, want as iemand dit aan jou doen, hoe glo jy die teenoorgestelde? Especially, that's why I want to grab parents by the throat. I want to throttle them and say to them, stop it. You're breaking your child. And it's going to take hard work for your child to get back. Not get back to, but you know, what is also, what I realized today is when you are grown up and you eventually start working through all your nonsense, and we all have, I'm the queen of nonsense, but I start working through all of that. That is actually your point of emancipation, where you can say, I now choose who I want to be. I don't have to be the product of my parents, my caregivers. I can reinvent myself into what I want to be. Smoke and Fire is saying, so it becomes your belief structure, how you operate it under others' opinions or forced ways. Yes.
correct. And also something interesting, en ek dink dokter het dit dalk ook al agtergekom. The people that I've worked with and stuff I've read about and researched and stuff I even watch online. But now from a practical point of view, the people I've dealt with who are severely depressed or have gone through severe trauma, severe neglect, who really suffered horrible circumstances, those people are often the ones who love unconditionally, who give unconditionally, who accept beyond measure. So in a way, they were shown darkness.
Yes.
And they knew the opposite of what that darkness was. Yeah. And those are often, I just found that so interesting. I don't know if you've encountered it. Most people who have been through a lot of adversity and stuff are the people who love unconditionally, who accept unconditionally, who give more than they actually take.
Yeah, that's true. They give from a place where there is nothing to give, and yet they somehow manage to give. But yet, those are the people who will not afford themselves anything. Nothing for them. Everything for outside. Just nothing. Maybe because it is such a deep-seated idea or thought that others are worthy, but I'm not worthy. Like you said, like you taught us, the number B. One B, the belief. Yes. The belief is, if my belief is out of whack, then everything's going to stay out of whack until Dayne. So Dayne, daai dag as ek kom klop by jou deur, you must sit me down in your counseling chair and fix me.
I think we'll fix each other.
Oh, you're so sweet, man.